I'm Victor, born in Luxembourg and producing as Sun Glitters since 2011. I started doing music in '96 as a bass guitar player in rock bands. And '98 I started to be more interested in electronic music when I started to listen to Massive Attack, Portishead, and then I had a project called Sugarcane for 12 years. Then came that unexpected moment when I tried to make something different and then came up with Sun Glitters. My very first record I bought was actually from The Cure. It was a 7-inch from the song Fascination Street. When I'm doing some graphic design stuff, I like to listen to some records, and I'm playing a lot of time this one because it's the first one, so I think it's a very special one. My creative process, feeling the moment. It happened that I started with music, for example, and then after like 5-10 minutes I said no, today is not today, because I don't like to push, things when it's not working. There are a lot of things that can happen during a day that can be negative, positive, depending, and all these kind of different vibes can also be interesting actually for a song. If you take all my songs, they have all a specific title. The title means something, an experience I had during a day, a week, a year. That's why when I'm producing something, I like to finish it as fast as I can, just to keep the whole thing together, the emotion, the moment. And if I take, for example, my very first album with Sun Glitters, Everything Could Be Fine, I think it took me like a little bit less than 1 month. For me, it's actually the best work I ever do in music because it really reflects something. I like to use Ableton Live for producing. It's built by artists, for artists, and and especially I like it because it's very simple for me from when I have a song to put it directly to play live. Making a song, for me, it's really random. How I build a song, I like to start with a sample. I will take, for example, this one. I will just listen to a bit to the sample, see if there is something interesting or not. Okay, it sounds interesting. Okay, then what is really interesting, what I'm always doing is using, for example, the sampler on Ableton Live. And there I will drag my sample. Okay, so then again I will mess around until I'm happy with something. Then I will just add randomly a beat just to get the groove. I have samples from some sound libraries. It's really a library that I put together. I'm always going on in this library for every song, so sometimes there are sounds that coming back in songs, but of course then I will work on them not to have all the time the same beat or the same melodies, or depending of vocal samples. One other thing is like to slow down the beat, for example. And then I can add like just a second beat on it. Okay. Sometimes that can sound also interesting. For example, okay, can be interesting. So now, of course, then I have to to add layer by layer until I build really something. I will check with every sample, because what I like to do is like to add just samples on it, to have kind of a collection of sounds that meld well together. And then, yeah, and then at the very end, of course, I will then start doing the song properly. I remember, for example, Everything Could Be Fine was a very complex album because I used broken beat stuff, you know, because I was following kind of a melody that was not really on time. So I just started to put like the drum kick on very unusual parts, and then start to add the snare also in some different ways, and so that make that kind of broken beat, and was actually interesting. And that's why I think starting with a sample, a melody, can open more doors to make something different from what you were expecting. My last thing is always the bass, because the bass will actually bring that emotion to the song. Me as a bass player in the past, for me it's always very important, because it's with the bass part that I will bring my own emotions to that song. Inspiration and know how to build a song, where to start, where to stop. Actually, there are no rules. I think it's like everything, you know, you have to know what you want and where is actually the limit of something. Because of course, sometimes I'm producing a song and I could put lots of melodies on it, but at the end, of course, there will be too much. So you have to know your limit, and you have to know exactly what you want. Of course, in life there are lots of rules that we have to follow, we have no choice. But doing your own stuff, I think you can just build up your own rules. The visual identity, I think it's something that it's very important also in the music that you are doing. Because I'm always going back to the past. I remember going to record shops, and the first thing actually was like seeing the cover art of music, you know. And even if you didn't know about the music, it was always the first touch to the artist, like, oh, this cover is looking great. And so that pushes you to listen to it. You have to feel it, you know, it's like everything actually, you know. So if you want to do something well, you have to feel it really at 100%. And so that's actually the first step, I think, for doing something. It's not just with music, it's with everything actually. So I think first thing would be like, yeah, okay, I want to do music, so do it. And even if you don't know how to start, just do it. Just try anything. I think very important thing is also to choose how you will make music, what gear you will use for that. Is it a sampler, is it a laptop? You have to feel well, like that you have everything in front of you. Okay, now I can start doing something. It's like if you start to eat and you don't have the fork, there's a problem. Of course you can use your hands. There's always a way to start something, you know. I think collaborating with someone can be also interesting, and then you can just decide which way to go.